One of the thoughts at the beginning of the day was to do something new today. And today we've got a brand new trainer. We want to welcome Bill Predebon. I don't know a whole lot about Bill, but I'm excited to get to know him better. Bill, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ron. How are you?
Doing well. Glad you're with us. Tell us a little
Excellent.
bit about yourself.
Right on, I certainly will. As Michael always says, and everybody, thanks for hosting this call. I've been listening to this call for a long time now, and I appreciate everything you do for myself as well as obviously for the community and this call and this webinar. So thanks. Welcome, everybody. This is a great honor to be on this call and training today. I will absolutely tell you a little bit about myself. I obviously don't want to make it about that, but I think stories are important. So it is, in my opinion, the best way to sell this opportunity and to introduce people to this opportunity is to share stories. And so naturally, the more stories you can have, the better. With that, I'm going to talk a little bit today about how I believe Renatus works, and in order to share this information with you guys and bring some value to you guys and hopefully have a really good training, I will share a little bit about my history with Renatus. To be honest, I was with the old company for quite a long time, from 2008 to 2011. And when the company split, I was involved in several businesses, and given the path that I took a 5-year sabbatical from Renatus after the first few months of the split. So I was primarily doing real estate and working a few other businesses that I owned, including an assisted living facility, a 47 unit that I had purchased sub 2 owner financing deal out in Hemet, California. And I'll probably touch on that a little bit. And so I've really been re-engaged with Renatus for 2 years. I'm out in Scottsdale, Arizona. I work directly under Dr. Gary. I work side by side with Dr. Gary and his wife, Sylvia, and of course, Dave Jakewish and Kevin Lawrence on our leadership team out here. And I've truly been blessed to have the opportunity to grow the community out here in Scottsdale for the last 2 years. And really focused on growing that business, growing my business, and marketing as a full-time business along with my real estate business. Cool. So today, like I said, I want to talk about how do I believe Renatus works. Someone just said, "Hey, Bill, that's cool." You guys, if you have Q&A during the entire training, I'm okay with it. I'm more than happy to keep an eye on this group chat and answer any questions or discuss anything that has anything to do with my topic or with any topic that interests you. It's all about you guys and what is on your mind. So if it's not on topic, I'm totally fine with it. We can venture out. I'll talk a little bit about my story, and as far as the reason I say that is because it relates to how I understand Renatus works. I was doing a one-on-one yesterday, and in fact, she hit a roadblock last night on her funding, and the text came in late at night about possibly going a different direction, things like that, and she's got an opportunity to invest this money in a property. And it's interesting because when I was introduced to Renatus at the time, I'd come off being a small business owner out of California and San Diego. I had 4 Play It Again sports stores. And so I'd always heard about real estate. I'd read some books. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as everybody probably did. And if you haven't, obviously, it's a good book to read. It's a quick read. I don't even know how to read, and I read that book in like 2 days. So, I totally recommend that book. But it really gives you an overview and a lot of opportunity and a lot of optimism, but it doesn't really teach you, right? And so, in any case, when I was introduced to Renatus after looking around trying to figure out how to get into real estate, got my real estate license in 2007. I became a loan officer in '06 to try to do real estate from an investment side. It just wasn't going to happen that way. And I remember looking at the opportunity to pay 20 grand for this education. And at no point in my mind did I think to myself that I should do a deal in order to make money to buy the education. I believe in Arizona for one, and most likely also in Utah a lot, and some of the other major markets, Las Vegas, California, Florida, Atlanta, places where markets move up and down very quickly, real estate markets that is. I think that they hear of people making money quickly. They hear of people being able to do deals, and they didn't go spend a lot of money on education. They got, for lack of a better word, lucky. And I just was so ignorant to real estate that I really didn't even know that was possible. All I knew is I didn't know how to do it. And so it never occurred to me to go ahead and try to do a deal so that I could make money to do real estate. And unfortunately, I believe you're going to encounter, if you haven't already, many, many, many people that will use that as one of our funding options. And we don't train that. When we do a follow-up, when we go through funding, it's not one of the options. Go out and do a real estate deal so you can fund your education. In fact, as I move forward with this training, and you've always heard from Michael and Christian and all the leaders across the country, they don't tell stories about someone who they met and they introduced to the opportunity, and the guy was all in or the girl was all in, and they were just ready to go. And so they left and did a sabbatical for 2 months and went out and flipped a house and came back with 20 grand. I don't know of any of those stories. Not to say that it didn't happen. We've had 15,000 plus students enroll over the last decade with Renatus, but I don't know of anybody who went out and did it that way. So, so when we encounter that as marketers and as business owners working with our students and our prospects and things, we don't have a story for them to share with them on how to go about it. When it comes to what I believe how Renatus works is, it starts with the funding, right? And we all know that. It starts with a decision. It starts with the fact that we've gone through the system. We've been to however many events that we've needed to make our decision to do our due diligence, and then we're looking for funding. I've made some mistakes in my business, and I bought out my partners. I overpaid to buy them out in my plating in business, and I found myself in 2006 in a pretty poor financial situation. I took advice from my attorney to file bankruptcy because I had a couple $1 million in personal guarantees, and I did. And I didn't think it would bother me. I didn't think it would affect me at all. But, I don't, if you can avoid bankruptcy, in my experience, I would recommend you do it. But so I didn't have money in 2007. I think I made about $17,000 when the market was completely crashing in Arizona as a real estate agent and a loan officer. In fact, there were more there were more banks closing, I think, than my loans that year. I think we went from about 1,300 banks to about 600 in a matter of 18 months. And so I made like 17 grand in 2007, and I was pretty broke. And everybody's heard that story, and obviously didn't define me. But my point was I didn't really have 20 bucks to get this started in this education. I didn't have credit. I didn't have retirement. My stores were going to be my retirement. I did not sell my stores. I basically gave them away and paid someone to take one of my stores. And so I didn't have a lot of financial options. So I started to look for ways to fund the education. And that's where I spent when I made the decision to get started with Renatus, I spent my time looking for the money. And I was fortunate enough to find a family member to help me out. And they didn't lend me the money. They didn't give me the money. They lent me their credit. I did all of the work. I came up with this on my own. Back then, we didn't really have a funding follow-up. And my affiliate, the person that enrolled me, was not really engaged, which doesn't even matter. Our systems are system dependent. They're not mentor dependent. They are not affiliate dependent. You can do this on your own, and so can the people that you enroll. I actually went to this person and I told him that I had found a way to pay him back the money that I already owed him because I hadn't paid him back in 2 years since I borrowed money from them before, when I really didn't know how to borrow money from them to run my Played Against sports business. And so I did all the work. I went to the bank, I got the loan docs, I got all the documentation that was needed of that individual to use their credit, so that they didn't have to really go to work at it. I told them what I needed. I collected all the data. And at the end of the day, they pretty much just had to sign the loan docs so they could be my co-signer on a loan so that I could fund the education. The other thing I did is I borrowed more money than I needed. I didn't borrow 20 grand, I borrowed 30 so that I could fund some marketing, that I could fund, I could service the debt because I didn't want to screw up the person's credit. And I went ahead and I had enough money that I could sustain for a little while. You know, with Renatus, I think all of you know that some of the things we don't get leads, we don't get deals given to us, we don't get money. I think as you go further into marketing and you work with folks, and you've probably experienced this if you've been doing this a little while and have been talking to people, you know, they want to know, you know, do you get the best software? You know, do you get partners? Do you automatically get a lawyer? And do you get leads provided to you for deals? And does Renatus partner with you on the deals if you bring a deal? And you know, there's a lot of other programs out there that we compete with. And they offer some of those things to certain people, typically people with money, to get involved. And their systems, but I'm going to get into it a little bit, and you are aware of this, but their systems are not community oriented. What Renatus does offer is an organic way, as you know, to achieve these things. We provide Renatus, you know, in Bob's, as Michael says, genius, in his genius, creating these community of investors across the country. It truly creates an environment for people to be successful. I know you've heard that before, but I like to say that, you know, it's an environment that organically grows real estate investors. It organically allows people to come together with different resources to culminate into a deal. And you know, the leads and the money and the deals come about from Renatus. You know, I've been with this company, as I said, and in real estate for almost 10 years. And I will tell you that I've never, except one time, I had one of my students launch a mail campaign. I have never solicited funds outside of Renatus. I have borrowed money from partners outside of Renatus, but I've never solicited it. I've never had to put a yellow letter campaign together. When I got started, I literally did door knock, you guys. I had no money, so my option was wholesaling. And then back in 2008, I was able to double escrow with no money, short sales. So that was a strategy I used that had no money and no credit, and I didn't have to borrow anybody else's money because I didn't know anybody to borrow it from. But I've done over 130 deals. I've done about 100 fix and flips, and I've never, ever had to yellow letter. I've raised almost, I don't know anymore, $4 or $5 million from individuals that I have met in the Renatus community over that time. The Renatus community, in my opinion, is an opportunity for people to come together and truly make things happen. And it's because of that organic growth of people getting the same education, living in a mind of abundance, working together, all for the same goals, willing to share, willing to trust, getting to know each other, and becoming, as everybody says, a family. And things happen inside those communities that are not available anywhere else. You know, the business plan of other companies, unfortunately, is one that is of selfish mode, right? So, you know, I like to say when I do the presentations, when I talk to folks, um, there's nothing wrong in most cases with most of the education that's available to us, in all the other opportunities. Their education, their systems are good. Their software is from RealFlow. It's the same in a lot of different ways. There's only so many different ways you can teach wholesaling. Some of the best wholesalers in the country offer great programs, and so on and so forth. However, they don't offer a community. I mean, if you look at them now, they have a Facebook community, they have some online attraction, they have some private groups and things like that where people can plug in. They've started to go that route, but their plan is to get you ultimately to pay for coaching. Their plan is to get you to move into the major dollar amounts. And they count on it. They know the numbers of people that are going to be able to afford that or be able to find the resources to do that. And that's when they truly create enough training for folks to really hit the ground running and be able to apply their knowledge and get deals done. Now, there's going to be that 1 to 3 to 5 or even 7 or 8% that are able to take the lower investment packages, for lack of a better term, and do something with it and get something done and really be a self-starter, and then apply perhaps other resources to that main resource from that guru and make something happen with their education. But the majority, it's just not in the cards. They have a pretty high failure rate, and they rely on an upsell model. In Renatus, we put everything up front. John O'Neill likes to mention that. We're adults here. We put it out in front. It's a one-time deal. Here's what it is. Take it or leave it. We'll help you get there, and that's it. And everything you possibly will ever need for the rest of your life will be inside of that education system that you've got for life for two people. So, when I started, there was less than 25 classes. They weren't delivered online or live. Online or 24 hours a day. There was very little financial literacy. There was not commercial or land development. There wasn't velocity banking. There was none of these things. And they were live classes only. There were week-long classes. You'd go from morning, noon, and night. Some of you on this call, I believe, and many of you have heard this, is that we would sign up for classes and you'd take a week off of work or 2 days or whatever you could afford. You'd fly to where it was and you would go. And then you'd study it for that week, and then you'd go home and study your notes for 2 or 3 months until the next live opportunity was to get in front of the instructors. It was a different system. And with the way Bob rolled it out and offered to the old school people like myself, we were able to not have to pay an extra amount of money. There was an upgrade for the lifetime education stuff, because back then there was no lifetime education. It was a 2-year program, and mine was up in 2009. And so I had to rely on there were no videos, there were no CDs, there were nothing I could keep from the past, only my notes and my notebooks. And so I had to rely on my experience. And if for some reason, what most people do, if it takes a year or two to get into real estate, then they had no experiences to even go off of from even that 2-year experience other than the schooling they got. So this is the way Renatus works. And again, you guys and girls, if you want any questions or thoughts, just interject. But, Renatus is a 2-part system, and you guys know this. We learn, and then we share what we learn, and we can make money as an IMA by sharing what we learn. But typically, I've experienced it over and over again. When folks come in at $125 level, it's very, very difficult. In fact, I've never known of anybody to be successful. If I'm going to enroll somebody at $125 level, it is simply only because we are waiting on some sort of funding to, at a minimum, get into an essentials portion. The goal from essentials is simply to work on finding money for the combo. The stories that we talk and we tell about and we hear and we listen to and we are aware of the successful people in the company, in the country, with Renatus systems, is that they own the combo, right? And they And so when someone starts at the essentials, if you're at the essentials level, I'm not saying don't study the education. I'm not saying don't try to market at all. Ignorance on fire, there's nothing wrong with that. Introducing people immediately and starting to talk about your new endeavor is important. However, the same amount of time that you share doing that and that you're working on your education or you're trying to get into real estate should be spent trying to find the money continually. Reinventing ways for you to get in front of people that can be an angel investor or whatever the case is. And if you already have the money in the combo, excellent. That's obviously your number one goal in the beginning. It is just the beginning. And then from there, you have definitely are going to be working with students, both your training sales and your own team building sales. You're going to be working with students that are going to be faced with the same dilemmas. But life, has its way of getting in the way. And we all experience this through jobs and family and sports and our busy lives and everything that we do. So it takes time. And if time is not focused on finding the money, then, what I've seen in the past and what I've experienced is frustration will set in, the ability to market Renatus will be limited when you are limited to an essentials education package, right? And I could spend time on the advanced combo, but if we're dividing between the essentials and the combo itself, your learning curve is much longer. Your ability to really understand true real estate investment strategies from buy and sell standpoint, from making money in real estate, are very few, if any, in the Renatus Essentials program that we offer and the services that we offer through the Essentials. Of course, there is velocity banking, so that's something that people can definitely get behind and describe more. And I think that's really helped sales increase and people, get other folks interested in what the services are that we offer. But it's just the tip of the iceberg, as you guys know. So with the Renatus system and how it works, again, when you go back to what I did is I left the meeting, the last meeting it was that I went to, the last briefing, with the intention of finding the money. So for 2 years, for 2 months, 45 to 60 days, I was home working as an agent, primarily working as a loan officer. And I was honestly spending the majority of my time trying to find the money. When I finally found the money for the combo and got the loan, I bought the combo. And then I engaged in Renatus. And then I fully engaged in the opportunity to study the education. But I'm going to tell you, like most of you, I'm assuming, we come into Renatus for real estate. I was solely interested in real estate and becoming a real estate investor. I got a question from Sandra. Do you solicit money privately, meaning person to person, or do you blast out your deals publicly to raise money? So I'm telling you, I am one of those folks who flies by the seat of my pants. I don't necessarily recommend being this way. So I don't know a lot of the laws. What I do know is that you should not ever solicit money publicly. I'm afraid that there are very severe consequences. I don't like jail, and I have some experience with that. So I don't recommend you publicly solicit money. It's private. It is person to person for me. When I solicit money, if you even use that term, when I raise money outside of the community, it's people I know. It is people that I have met through the majority of it through my real estate dealings, either agents or friends or family, high school friends that I know that have done well, college friends, or business associates. And so here it says, once your deals are under contractors like wholesalers. Okay, so here's the coolest thing, you guys, is God, we have such an amazing opportunity. I don't even have a buyer's list. I don't have a money list. I don't have a lot of, I know almost for 10 years, you guys have been working in the Renatus, in the Scottsdale, Phoenix, Maricopa County market. I know almost everybody that's in real estate, big players in this area. A few of them are friends of mine, and I will send them a deal if I get one. I'm primarily a fix and flipper. I make more money. I have money to invest in fix and flip, that money I've raised. And so I enjoy fix and flip. I enjoy the opportunity of fix and flip for house tours. So I like fix and flip, but I will wholesale. I probably wholesale half a dozen deals a year. So I don't blast it out. I rarely ever put it on Craigslist unless it's a really rare deal. I put a for sale by owner sign in front of it if I need to. One of the guys I just partnered with, we literally just bought a deal off Facebook. We closed on that one. We were going to flip it. And then I literally put a sign in front of the window, in front of the door. We had many people before we even got it painted, and we just sold it as is to another flipper for $22,000 in 3 weeks, more than what we paid for it. And over and above even our expenses that we already added in for our carrying costs and the money we've invested. So with that said, Sandra, is you guys, I bring every deal I have to the Renatus community. Typically, I end up flipping it. I have literally partnered with 100+ people in the Renatus community over the years based on this. So yeah, Sandra, I hope that answers your questions. It says here, Bill, what type of conversation do you have to raise your private money? Generally speaking, you guys, I offer 8 to 10% interest, and I offer it secured by real estate. And I usually start out with, hey man, have you ever, like I called one of my friends. I bought a property off MLS 2 years ago, a 3-plex, a house and 2 units, and I knew I wanted it. I knew I could get hard money on it. I didn't have the necessarily the credit to because of my business, not the credit. I had decent credit actually from the classes. I had a 500 score, you guys, when I started. My score is in the mid-7s now. I started with 2 my premier credit cards that had $300 limits and an American Bank credit card with a $500 limit, and now those limits are in the multiple thousands over time as you use those cards. But my point is, when I looked at this deal, I wasn't buying it with my own credit. I was going to get hard money and private money, and then I was going to refinance it with my credit, because I usually almost always zero out my tax returns. My business tax returns go to zero. I pay less than 8% tax on multiple 6-figure income, and so I called a gentleman from high school, and I just told him, I said, hey man, I'm looking for some cash for a down payment. I need it for 6 months. I'm going to refinance out of it. It's in a pretty good position, and I'll give you 10%, and I'll even pay you up front, or I'll pay you when I close, even for the money. So give me 50 grand, I'll give you $500, and then I'll pay you 10%, and I'll secure it by real estate. And that's typically what I say. And most of the time they're interested. They really don't ever do it. They're not educated in it. And it's a relationship with somebody I know and that trusts me. And typically it's from someone who has the ability to have the money. And if they don't get it back right away, they don't need it right away, because I don't ever want to screw it up. And I always knew that if I raise the money and something happens, I can either sell the property to get it back, or I can pay it back, or I can prolong it, and they're not in a situation where they're going to lose money because we were forced to sell. So not that I haven't lost money on deals, don't get me wrong, but especially in this type of transaction when I raise private funds, it's generally speaking outside of the community. Now, when I partner with people in the community, I do create partnerships, and typically those partnerships are on a profit share, not just a loan, because the people are sophisticated in the community. They're educated. I want them to make more money. I want to share in the deal with them. I don't necessarily need to just raise the money. But like I said earlier, with Renatus, you guys, and the opportunity that we have, and I'll get back to the way I think the system works based on what's worked for me and what's worked for hundreds of people that I've been affiliated with over the years with Renatus. And, I've enrolled almost 30 students in the last 2 years. And the way that I've seen the success happen is when people plug in, right? And I'll get to that. You're welcome, Charlene. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought there. So the way that I see that the system works is when you are showing up and developing relationships at as many opportunity meetings and house tours as possible. I'm telling you, when I got started, and you guys remember this, the market was crashing. The old company as we knew it was going away. The main marketers that weren't doing real estate were in a situation where overhead was killing them. People couldn't find the money for marketing. People didn't want to learn about real estate. It was a different era, a different time. And so, but the people in front of the room that were successful, no matter what was going on in the world, no matter what was happening with them, I didn't care. I only cared about myself. Naturally, it's a human instinct, right? We care about what can Renatus do for us. And remember that when you're talking to prospects, they don't care if you've done a deal. That may be their initial objection, but when they get in front of the information and they see the people in front of the room, like a Michael Huggins or the leaders across the country, and a lot of you on this phone that have had success and are doing things, they're going to look at that and go, can I do this too? And it's going to become about them. And so it became about me. And so the only thing I knew was that people were telling me, Bill, go to the meetings. Don't miss a Super Saturday. I was like, a Super Saturday? What the heck do I want that for? Don't miss a national training or a regional training. And I was like, I had so much guilt when I had to miss a regional training when I first got started, like because I was told so many times that I had to be there and that all the successful people are going to be there. And if you're successful, you're there. If you're not successful, you're there. I lost sleep over it because it was ingrained in my head by all the leaders and the people making money. So all I knew was I needed to go to every meeting I could because that's what the people that were doing it well were telling me. So if you're coachable and trainable and you can listen to what everybody's telling you, go to as many meetings. And the cool thing is you will develop relationships beyond your wildest dreams with people in Renatus. And as you become at home an educated person through the Renatus system, when you start to talk about that education, you have now become more sophisticated in real estate investing than 99% of America across the country. So you already have a leg up. And when you come to Renatus and you start to, share with what you're doing and you start to bring people to the events, people recognize that because we all know this is a learning curve. And not everybody's able to bring somebody every single time. So when you are bringing somebody, when you are out looking for property, when you're out door knocking, when you're out doing anything that's applying the education you're working with, right? You hear Michael, and I always say Michael and John and all the leaders, these major income earners across the country, they're applying their knowledge. And when they're doing that, when you're taking your notes and pausing the education and writing down an action step and go out and do the action and then talk about it, that's as good as talking about doing a deal. People are intrigued by people that are actually making offers. When I first talked to Kevin Lawrence and he started out with Renatus, he would call me about real estate. And I'm like, and he's like, hey man, I'm looking at this deal. And I'm like, he's like, I got it from this guy and this is who I'm talking to. I'm running the numbers. I go, Kevin, have you made the offer? And he's like, well, I'm putting it all together. I'm like, make the offer. I'm like, get the thing under contract first, then go out and drive the property, go see it, go do your due diligence in your inspection period, right? But get it under contract. Don't even waste the time because if you're not in the same ballpark, if you haven't made the offer, you're not. It doesn't even matter what you're coming up with because if that person's not willing to sell it to you for anywhere near what you're willing to buy it for, it's a moot point. Get out there and make offers, you guys. The inspection period. Use Chris Wilson's contract. When I started, I literally printed the thing and typed it into Word. I didn't have money to go to a lawyer with it. I stuck it in my computer, I printed it crooked, and I took that to every opportunity I had to write a contract. It was verbatim, word for word, out of a sample contract. But I made offers, and I always relied on the fact that the fact is, if you have an inspection period for any reason, you can back out. So back the heck out. Quit. But at least, man, when you tell people on Facebook or at Renatus in a meeting that you're under contract on a property, I don't care if you ever buy it. If you ever fix and flip a property, you are attractive now. You're more attractive than you already are as a beautiful person. And so the cool thing is you can absolutely use that. That is the Renatus system. The Renatus system is not go get your education. Now, here's the cool thing. Renatus enables you to take our services and go anywhere in the country and go to work. Become a hermit. Find your own lawyer, find your own title company, find your own, build your own buyer's list, start a RIA, whatever you want to do, and it works. You got the best education in the country. You can do it. You have the best support, the best, all that stuff. You can start your own community. All those things work. But if you don't want to reinvent the wheel and you don't want to go isolate yourself and find your own attorneys, go and ask. You can call me. You can text me. Anybody in all of Renatus, in all of Scottsdale, and anybody that's met me has any access to any contractor, anything that I have associated with. We are a mindset of abundance. And anybody in your community, Christian Sadlers and the Alden Sparks and all these guys that are doing these deals and stuff, and I know more of your names on this phone that are doing deals, so don't get me wrong, I list most of you. But, you're going to have access to all of this great information, and it's there for you. The Renata system is to plug in, right? And to literally go to all of the meetings, set it up as your schedule. And I know that you can't. Like, I didn't have a job. So I quit being a real estate agent. I quit being a loan officer and went full-time short sale. If I'm going to make 100% of something, I'm going to make 100% of my own. I'm not going to make 100% of somebody else's commission, is what my mindset was. So I had a little bit of reserves from that loan to get started. But I'm telling you, folks, I don't recommend that at all. I should have gotten a job probably, but I literally didn't even know how to get a job. A whole nother story. But, the system was, I started going to the events and I never even did, it took me 7 months to do my first short sale. I had over 50 short sales in the pipeline. At one point, within the first 4 months of doing short sales and studying, all I would do was study the short sales class like 8 times. I went and saw Gavin McCaleb and Tony Lister, who are short sales instructors who taught Brian Sump back then before me. I watched them over and over and over again. I went to that class every single time it was offered. And I studied the short sales. And I had over 100 short sales in the pipeline. And it took me 7 months to close the first one. If I didn't start marketing, I might have never closed a single sale. But because I was so broke, I was making no money, short sales were taking a long time, I went to the leaders and I looked at this guy and I go, how do you make 20 grand a month? What are you doing? He's like, oh, you got to see the system of inviting. And I'm like, oh my God. And so what's interesting about that, you guys, if you are working on a short sale, if you are working on a contract, if you are making offers, that is an attraction piece that you can bring to the table with your guests and the people in Renatus. And I hadn't closed a single short sale, but I was able to give a 2-minute testimony about, what Renatus, where I was and how I've been gone from a loan officer and a real estate agent to making no money to having short sales under contract. And that was it. And people were like, oh, hey, I know someone who's got a short sale. I got this person who's got a short sale. And they would come talk to me because they knew I was doing something. And the same thing will happen for you. The Renatus system is to plug in. Renatus works by engaging in both opportunities. And you guys wouldn't be on this call if you weren't involved in the marketing. And I know you're here for real estate anyway, so I'm preaching to the choir. I get it. But when you're working with your team and you're building a team and you're working with your students and you're training sales, this is the key. We're not selling the marketing right off the bat. We're selling the real estate. But man, the way that real estate, every successful story I know in real estate is people engaged in the community, not the marketing. I'm not talking about to my students about the marketing and all that stuff. I'm just talking about plugging into the events. Come meet the people. Come work with the people in Renatus that are already here, and your business, your real estate business will grow. As you heard me say, I've raised millions of dollars. I still have money from a guy I met in 2009. I'm going to tell you another story. The other day, on a Wednesday last week, I woke up to a text. It's a text from an individual I did 2 deals with in 2008 and 2009, who was a toy developer, who bought his education from Renatus over the internet. Never even met the person that enrolled him, but I met him at an intensive. Right? So go to the intensives, bring students with you, bring prospects, but go to the intensives. I meet this guy at an intensive. We end up doing a deal together. We made like 40 grand on it. We did one more deal and he moved to California. Through the years, I've had contact with him. Out of the blue, after or at least a year that I've talked to him, he texts me, he's like, Bill, I just sold an investment property in Austin, Texas. I've got some cash. Would you like to invest? I'd like to get back into investing in real estate. Would you like to partner? What do you think I said? Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes, I immediately texted him back. You guys, this is a guy I met 9 years ago. I haven't talked to him except a few times over the course of the years, maybe once a year, once every year and a half. Text me. He in 24 hours wired me 30 grand, 10% interest on a deal that I had lined up with another student, Brian Beto, who's on this call. He and I are closing on a property. We're supposed to close the 10th. We're going to close this week on a subject to deal out in Chandler, Arizona. And I got the 30 grand for that at 10% interest. And then I'm also under contract on a property I got from a realtor friend of mine, Bird Dog Realtor. I'm under contract, and today he's wiring me $265,000 to close on that deal. I'm going to partner with him on the deal. In this one, I'm offering him a certain percentage of the net, definitely less than 50%, but I'm in on the deal with him, and I'm going to be able to do this deal. The relationships that you will build in Renatus are lifetime. And although we want to get rich quick and we want deals to happen fast, the way that Renatus works is you plug in and you continually plug in and you find a way to get the combo, and then you work on the education. While you're working on the education, regardless if you're doing a deal, you are out there making things happen by showing up and talking about what you're doing, both in your life and also in your Renatus life. You know, when you start to make the money in the marketing and you start to make money in fix and flips, I've only put my money in 4 out of 95 to 100 fix and flips. My wife and I invest our money in long-term buy and hold. We pay off debt. We pay off taxes. I just got hit with a $42,000 additional tax bill from the IRS. It's paying less than 10%, but I had to increase that a little bit because I refinanced a couple properties and some private money deals that I was doing and get the private money people out of there. So my point is, you will be able to raise the money you need, find the deals that you want, partnership with who you want, and create a real estate business when you engage in the Renatus systems as often as possible. It starts with the education and owning the combo. It talks about getting educated and then talking about what you're learning, not necessarily what you're doing. You don't have to, it took me 7 months to do a deal. And I had $180,000 from a guy in before I'd even really closed my first deal, from a guy who had a self-directed retirement account. A lot of people come into Renatus with money. They roll over retirement accounts. They can't personally invest that money directly with themselves. They have to be in a partnership. They can't be a 50% owner. There's a restriction, as you know, I'm not an attorney or any of that stuff. I'm not a CPA or IRA director guy, but I study the education and I know what the rules are, and I have them go look at it. And then they come to people like yourselves that are doing things, making things happen by putting in offers, and they want to invest those retirement funds and partner with you in deals. I didn't see any other questions come up. It's 7:56 to my knowledge. I want to respect your time. I want to end on time. I'm welcome to take any more questions. I think I'm going to have the opportunity, if you guys want, and Michael continues to want to have me train on Tuesdays, then I will be doing that. I can share a lot more of my 10 years with Renatus and my stories, the stories of other folks that I know that really sell. I will tell you, for every fact I mentioned when I'm marketing to my prospects, when I'm sitting down with a one-on-one last night, the girl I was talking to on a one-on-one yesterday that enrolled in the combo that I was telling you about that hit a roadblock last night, I tell a story. I tell a fact about Renatus, about an opportunity, but I follow it up with a story on how someone is successful, how they got funded. Learn these stories. So I'll share with you more stories and more stories about myself so that you take that and have that. Any questions or anything? Ron, I can turn it back over to you and see if you want to talk to the group and see if anybody has anything.
You caught me brushing my teeth, Bill. Hey, I appreciate what you've done this morning. No, you're good. Hey, I appreciate what you've done this morning. It has been very informative, and I've been very, very happy. I think everybody online has been. Any questions for Bill before we let him go?
Eugene, that'd be great. Go ahead and contact me. Eugene just said he'll contact me. You guys, that's fine. let's see, I don't even, I'm going to type my cell phone number in the comments here. There. Yeah, that's my personal cell phone number. Typically, I'm on it. Ask my wife. I'm always on the phone. But so if I miss your call, shoot me a text, and I definitely will get back to you. I know Keely can attest to that. I will absolutely get back to you guys always. Sometimes it's just not immediately, but within that day. Awesome. Thanks, Keely. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, Ron, if anybody's got any questions, I can finish up. We've got a couple minutes. Otherwise, you know, I don't, like I said, I want to make sure you guys are off on your day. So.
Well, it's been a morning well spent, Bill. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Ron. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for having me here. I greatly appreciate the honor. Literally, it's an honor and a privilege, and I'm appreciative and thankful for the opportunity. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Enjoy your day and make it great. Don't forget, Leaders Retreat is coming up. Don't miss Leaders Retreat. Listen to Take It From a Leader. Go to Leaders Retreat, and you guys make it a great day.